Yeah, so Caitlin, and is Debbie talking too, or is she just going to be on the side for questions? Okay. So Caitlin McCavour is a PhD student with Dalhousie University, and she'll explain the title here of this project. It's fairly complicated. What kind of a microphone would you want to walk around?
Walk around.
I'll turn this one off. I'll turn that one off.
Good? People can hear me? Okay. My name is Caitlin McCavour. So I don't recognize a ton of faces in here today, but I'm hoping after today that a lot of you will recognize me, and I can meet a lot of people here today, because what we're working on is developing a forest soil health assessment and extension program for the province. But it's much easier to remember it by the acronym ForestSHARE. And so I'll get into what the project is, but I just wanted to introduce myself first. Is it gonna?
It was just working. Yeah.
What?
It was just working.
Do I point it at something?
Point it at the computer. Okay.
We'll just go next. As I said, my name is Caitlin, and so a few years ago I did my master's actually working at the Otter Ponds Demonstration Forest doing the forest liming. And after that, I worked as a soil extension specialist for the past 3 years with Perennia Food and Agriculture, so largely focused in agriculture, but I also had the opportunity to work with sugar makers as well as Christmas tree owners. And so when this project came about, I was asked if I wanted to do it as a PhD project, and I immediately said, absolutely not, I will never go back to school. And then they told me about the project, and here I am. So I just hope as we go along through when I explain the project that even if people in here are a quarter of excited as I am about this forest soil research, then that will be off to a fantastic start. And I also have the opportunity to work with a lot of really great partners. So one of them is Debbie Reeves, who I know a lot of you know. And she's just going, it's working now. She's just going to talk a little bit about the background behind this project and who's involved.
I think it's always important for people to understand what it takes to do one of these kind of projects and how you source your money, because it's a huge challenge. And so as of March, it was 2 years ago in March when I first put in my first proposal to Research Nova Scotia, who had a program called Bringing Forestry into Focus from money that they got from the Forest Innovation Transition Trust after Northern Pulp closed. So I put that in, and sometime after, Dr. Kevin Keyes, who had worked at DNR and then had started to assist at the Family Forest Network, put something similar in. So they asked us if we could work together, and that was a no-brainer. Of course we can, and we come from different backgrounds. It seemed to be a perfect fit. So we teamed up, we went to the application stage. It took us 14 months before we actually signed an actual agreement with Research Nova Scotia for the project, and we were 18 months before we actually got that they lined up the funding to start providing funding to us to start this project. So now we're starting to roll. So our partners are myself, and Research Nova Scotia has fancy names. So Dr. Kevin Keyes and myself, we're considered co-investigators. Now, I've never been an investigator in my life, but I'm learning what that means in that world of science. And my role is that I am the administrative and the financial lead looking after the grant funding, and Kevin is the academic lead because he is the soil scientist that we have. Then we have the two Dal campuses, Dal Agriculture College and Dal Halifax, because anybody that's been in Christmas trees or farming knows that Dal AC has had a soils analysis machine for quite a while that does really finite scientific analysis of our soils. And I learned about that when we did farming soils, and then we did Christmas tree soils. So I thought, why can't we do forest soils? So now we're doing forest soils. So they're going to do the analysis there, and then a certain amount of the samples will go to Halifax, and they will do a more in-depth analysis around microbiology. And then down the bottom line is Geonome Atlantic, and they're going to take a smaller sample yet and put it through more finite stuff like they do for the oceans and all the different environments. So I'll learn a lot in this project, I think, from the other people, and hopefully I'm going to be able to contribute because I'm the woodlot owner in the room. So when I talk about it, I'm talking about it from my perspective as a woodlot owner and what it means to me. And it's a 4-year project, so it's going to take us a while. But we need anybody that we're going to do soil sampling on 850 sites in Nova Scotia on private lands. So I'm hoping as a private woodlot owner who is intrigued by this myself, that my fellow woodlot owners who are contacted will oblige us by allowing us to send forest professionals to your land to take these physical soil samples to get analyzed. But down the road, the Debbie Reeveses of the world as woodlot owners, all yourselves, we should be able to go into our forests and take a sample and send it to Dalhousie and have an analysis done, same as we do for Christmas trees or for farming. And hopefully with the ecological forestry paradigm that has come into place, this will help us to better identify what we should grow on what types of land, and that'll come into the soil mapping. So I just wanted to clarify this, and so it's a great team. Kevin and I and Dr. David Burton and Dr. John Rude, we're the 4 leads. And then we have DNR is a huge partner because they're doing all this computer analysis work that we need to do because it has to be scientific and nonpartisan. And they're a partner with, we're putting freezers in 20 sites over across the province. So half are DNR, half are in NSCC because the soil samples have to be frozen. And then we have, so NSCC is going to provide a space to do workshops for the forest professionals we're going to use. And down the road, we'll be engaging with you guys again with hopefully a program that will mean a lot to all of us as woodlot owners.
No, that was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, so she gave a great overview of what the project is about. And so I think we have about 22 minutes. I'm going to go through in more detail about what the project is about and then leave some time for questions at the end. But also if you do have a really pressing question that you want to ask right then, I'm fine with that as well. So yeah, as Debbie said, we're going to be collecting 850 sites worth of soil samples. But the first thing I want to address is why is this important? So soil health is essential to forest ecosystem health, but soil health often has many different definitions depending on the ecosystem. And so what soil health is to agriculture is different to forestry, and even within different forestry stands is going to look different in a tolerant hardwood stand versus a spruce pine stand. And so if we can help improve forest soil health, we can improve forest productivity, carbon sequestration, biodiversity, and climate change resilience. And so when I think about this project, I always think about the impacts on 2 different scales. So one is the woodlot owner scale, where you'll have more valuable information about your soils to hopefully make more informed management decisions based on that information, as well as improving forest soil health can have these overarching goals to improve resilience to climate change. So what we don't know, so the things that we're trying to tackle with this project is what soil health properties are relevant in Nova Scotia forests. And so like I said, soil health can mean many different things in different ecosystems. So there's a ton, like 40 or 50 different properties that you can measure, but not all of them may be extremely important to that forest ecosystem. So we're going to prioritize which soil health properties we think will give us the best indication of what the forest soil health status is at those sites. And then right now we also have no absolute values. So if we choose these properties, we don't have a range of what that looks like within the province. So for example, pH, we have a general idea of what pH is in the soil, but we don't know the exact values. And so we don't have this province-wide data for Nova Scotia, and that's what we're hoping to tackle with this project. So our main objectives is to develop a suite of these soil health indicators, and then use that information to develop management interpretations. And then after that, that'll lead to kind of the development of a framework for a provincial extension program, specifically related to forest soils. So, as Debbie had mentioned, we're going to collect 1,700 soil samples across 850 sites. So we're going to be looking at the mineral soil as well as the forest floor soil. So every site that we go to, we'll be collecting 2 different samples. And then we're going to use that data to develop benchmarks. So the idea is that if you take a soil health property, say your calcium concentration in your soil, you'll have an idea of what all of the sites, all of these different similar forest eco sites will look like, and the range of that soil property for the province. So what we have already done is we have already selected the sites. Unfortunately, we can't go based on a volunteer basis for site selection because we need the sites to be distributed well across the province, across different forest types, across different soil types. And so what we did is we chose the sites based on the different eco-sites classified by the Forest Ecosystem Classification. So we took all those different eco-sites and we're selecting 30 to 90 samples per eco-site, depending on how much land there is per eco-site. So some of these eco-sites on private woodland have 85,000 hectares. Some of them only have 700 hectares after we looked through the data. So, as I said, it needs to be statistically robust and have good spatial distribution. And I'll show you, we have the points selected. And this is what it looks like. So the information we have right now is the geographic information, and then what we anticipate the vegetation and soil is on those sites based on the predictive ecosystem mapping that's done for the province. So what we're hoping to do, and where you all will come in, is if there is a site selected on your land, we just would like to ask permission to have a sampler go and collect that site. We also anticipate that there will be some sites that are inaccessible or they don't match the conditions that we're looking for, so we do have some extra sampling sites that we might have to use. So just to give you a general idea, this is the distribution of the number of sites per county. So it varies per county. We're trying to capture a wide range of climate conditions, soil conditions, vegetation, but that just kind of gives you a general idea of where these points are distributed. And the county with the largest number of points is Lunenburg County. So I kind of talked about this a little bit, but the sites are randomly selected, but we used a program to make sure that they're not all clustered in one spot. So this is an example of a site. So that yellow point up at the top is kind of right on the Lunenburg Kings County line. And just to give you an example, this is EcoSite 14 plus. And so what would happen is the sampler would be looking for any of these conditions. They confirm those conditions, and then they take the soil sample. And the soil sample will look like a few auger holes on your land. You will hardly even notice it. They're not digging a full soil pit or anything like that. And then, as Debbie said, we're partnering with NSCC and DNR, and then they're going to drop off those samples at these locations for analysis afterwards. So some of the things that you'll get information on is your pH, your nutrients, so nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, all that good stuff, your soil texture, aggregate stability, organic matter, carbon dynamics, as well as the microbiome information. So there's lots of information that can be useful, but one question I've gotten quite a bit when I talk about this project is what are the overall outcomes? And that will come from this project, so we don't really know for sure yet. That's what we're trying to figure out. But what I'm hoping will happen is that there's a framework to deliver samples. So take your samples, deliver them to the lab, and then there'll be management interpretations. Now, some of these management interpretations may look very different. So for those of you involved in agriculture, often those interpretations look like fertility management, so applying phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen. But this is going to look a little bit different for forestry because it's not as easy to apply those amendments. So these are just some of the things that may come out of this, so changes to silviculture practices. So even things like we'll hopefully be able to identify areas of your lot that might be more erosion or compaction prone, and maybe that changes where you put your skidder trails, things like that. So this contributes to the ecological forest management. We can also look at species selection and reforestation. So if we know what your range of soil conditions are and we know that these specific tree species do better in that range, then maybe we can kind of guide your forest to those specific tree species. So lots of different things. Fertilization and amendments is also an option. But there's a lot of different management interpretations that could come out of this project. So I'll leave lots of time for questions but what we're hoping to do is I'm going to be here for the rest of the day, and I do have the list of sites that are selected. So if you're interested to know if your site has been selected, please come visit me. I just have a little table. It's the table with nothing to give away for free, but you might get a soil sample site. So again, there's only 850 sites across the province, so not everybody will get a site. But I just want to really reiterate what we hope to come out of this project is that is useful to you. And the other thing that, even if you don't have a question, but even if you have a comment on soil health and what your perspective of soil health is, because it changes based on how you're managing your land and everything, I would love to hear that. So basically, if you do have a selected site, all that we ask is that you give us permission to come take samples on your land, and your data will not be shared. Your personal data. So that will go into like a pool of the 850 sites. So it'll be part of that, but at no point will somebody be able to say, oh, Debbie Reeves's pH is this on this stand. You won't have access to that information, just the overall information. And then the other thing that we'll ask about is just letting us know about any harvest activities or anything else that you think is important history about your land, so we can incorporate that into the management interpretations at the end of the day. So we're sampling for the next 3 years. So as Debbie said, this is a 4-year project. So it's going to take some time. We're at the very early stages, but I just want to leave this slide up to leave it on. So this is contact information for myself, Debbie, and Kevin. This is also the link to the website for the Center for Sustainable Soil Management at DAL, and this QR code goes right to the website that explains this project again. So if you have any questions or you want to know a little bit more about that project, you can go to that website, or you can contact me or any of the other project partners at any time. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.